This recording is to show you how to receive a subcontractor or vendor receipt of goods in order for the next step in the process, which would be to input an invoice. In Sedona, you would first want to navigate to the vendor screen. So under Accounts Payable, you can go to the subsection for vendors, which when clicking on that will bring up a new search box to allow you to search for the vendor. If we type in a vendor, in this example we're going to look for FES, Fire and Security. Go ahead and just select, double click to open up the vendor screen. This will give you a snapshot view of that vendor, and in the body of the main summary screen it will show you all open purchase orders for that vendor. If you go ahead and double click to open up a specific purchase order, it will show you some of the basic details on who the purchase order was created for and where we want to ship the equipment, or that'd be the main warehouse for where the equipment's being shipped. We also have some other information which will be unique to every purchase order. For example, the purchase order number, what branch it's for, the date the purchase order was created, as well as either a service ticket or a job number where these parts or subcontracted labor will be charged to. And then in the body of the PO, we've got specific line items for either the items we're purchasing or the services being provided. You notice there are two tabs. One is for parts, so if we're ordering specific inventorable parts that were in our warehouse, they'd be listed here in terms of part number and quantity. For items that are subcontract labor or unique items that are not inventorable items that we may purchase, those are listed on the expense tab. And so you'll see when Taylor created this purchase order, she created different line items with different quantities and rates accordingly. To receive a purchase order, you can go about a couple different ways, but the easiest way to do it is probably just to single click, highlight the purchase order on the vendor screen, right click and hit receive purchase order. This will bring up a new screen, which is a parts receipt. It pulls in the purchase order number that you selected. For a reference number, we just mimic the PO number, so 88989, and the receipt date would be the receipt of when those goods are delivered to us or the services performed. In this case, we got an invoice from FES on the 12th of July, so I'll go ahead and put 7/12/2019 as our date. We'll leave the service ticket number in, that pulls in automatically, and then we will then uniquely select or identify the parts we are receiving. In this case, there are no parts. We go to the expense tab, and what you'll want to do is note the quantity that we want to receive for each item, and if that all matches up according to what should be, you can just hit save in the bottom right hand corner. If, for example, we needed to partially receive an item, you can simply select the row that does not apply to delete it. You can hit the delete key. It asks you if you want to remove it. You could hit yes or no. If you just needed to change the quantity, you can do that here by example, instead of receiving 2, we could receive just 1 and change that to 1. Let's go ahead and hit save, and a pop-up will come when you hit save. It will ask you, we've got a purchase order, there's no parts ordered, do you want to close the PO? In this case, we have everything received, so we can go ahead and hit yes, we want to close that purchase order. And that completes the process. Now when you go back to the front view of the vendor, you notice that purchase order is now gone. We can still find that purchase order by navigating to the purchase order screen, look at 2019 purchases. So far, we'll find that purchase order listed here. When we open up that purchase order, we'll see that we've now got a received quantity because of what I received in, and the received cost matches the total cost. And what happens is now this purchase order says closed. If for some reason you need to edit the purchase order, you could click reopen PO and add additional lines or change the quantities as needed. But that should conclude the instructions on how to receive a purchase order.